I can tell you, with all the good feels, the kindness, the reinvigoration of a new career, nothing matched that first key ceremony. Seeing the look in her eyes when she got her keys was the motivator that said, I know I made the right choice. I started my company, which was called Crown Exteriors at the time, with basic knowledge of business, but not of how to run a company. It proved to be amazing in the beginning. It was exciting, it was exhilarating, and then it wasn't. Waking up at 4:30 in the morning, and I'd be coming home probably around 8 in the evening. It was 300 kilometers a day of driving to and from job sites and meeting with new clients and trying to collect from old clients. And then it became chasing old clients to start paying. My wife was basically the keeper of home. They loved Dad, but Dad was a funny guy, a guy to come and play with them for a few minutes and that's it. You know, I used to brag that I was, every day of my kids' life they saw me, but the quality of what they saw early on wasn't really representative of what I wanted to do with them. When I got whispered that Habitat had an opening or an opportunity up here in Barrie, coming from a for-profit world, I didn't understand charity, I didn't understand what they did. I was actually very hesitant. I said, well, you know, that's not my cup of tea. They're looking for somebody to give them some guidance in their construction department. They offered me a part-time position, and I was like, wow, I'm, you know, well into my career. I haven't had a part-time job in, I don't know, 20 years. I thought I can do this part-time and still maintain my business, but at least this covers my gas. And that's really where it came from. The whole concept of what Habitat introduced me to was mythical. If somebody would have said, this is how we do what we do, I never would have believed them. The for-profit world is cutthroat. The fact that I can save 35% of the cost of a build is really something that I gun for. Whereas in the for-profit world, I would have been thinking, how can I make 35 points on that project? It was 180 from the world that I knew. Our first build, I drove up and the project had been sidelined for about 3 months. So I walk in and I remember the first time and I'm actually being introduced to some of the crew leads and these are volunteers. I would say the average age was about 70. I was like, okay, so you guys obviously don't do the physical aspect. Nope, they were like, yeah, we're putting in the flooring. I recognized that, yes, it matches because you've installed the flooring wrong. And I just saw safety issues everywhere. I was like, get them away from tool. It was a nightmare for me. I actually said, I don't want volunteers, I'll take care of it. You know, and I had to be swayed and shown what the volunteer community aspect of what Habitat does and how important that is in order for me to let that access happen on a construction site.
Beautiful.
Coming to this community was mind-blowing and eye-opening to see that kind of support. I have a level of appreciation for our job sites now versus, you know, trepidation about who's gonna trip over that wire that's sticking out. Our HR manager called me and say, the board is here and they want to meet with you. And I sit down and that's when they announced that the CEO had parted ways, and sure enough, they slid a job offer across the table. And my initial thing was I laughed. I said, are you guys serious? Because I'm not going to be your shiny suit guy. I'm not going to be that guy that just left. And they said, we don't want that. You've proven in the community what we need to thrive as an organization and as a community service here, and we want you to be at the head of that going forward. I saw the opportunity to lead the organization and signed on the bottom line. Habitat at that time when I came on board, because of some mismanagement, had lost the trust of the community. We would not make an impact based off of the common practices that they were using at that time. We were in a time where we were just at the cusp of mortgage rates being so low, but housing costs going through the roof. From our perspective, our mortgage model at that time was one where once the family, they received their home, they could sell it and profits were going into their pockets. I had a lot of people coming to me and saying, Rob, if this is the case, then I'm going to move my philanthropic avenues to other organizations. Hey, this could snowball into us losing everything we've got going and we've built. And changing that mortgage model was key. We don't give away houses for free. We're a program, and I love calling it a program because it is. Habitat used to be a model where this was your forever home, and then I get away from the forever home. I say this is your starter home. This is your introduction to home ownership. Our program offers the benefit of home ownership, knowing full well that at some point, and our data says usually after 7 years, that they've stabilized financially, career-wise, family structure-wise, to a point that they can move into a traditional mortgage and start their next journey, meaning that that now becomes a home that gets returned to us. Once you alleviate that, costs come down, that actually opens the door from transitional housing and so forth. So in that housing continuum, having the impact in our role to open up doors for the rest of the housing continuum. What I saw that I can immediately impact is how we can extend builds from 1 to 2 units to 10 units to hopefully at some point 50 units a year. We just had my 9th key ceremony and it was just as impactful as my first. And to know that I just facilitated that little kid into having his family stabilized to the point where he can grow into or she can grow into whatever they want to be is so heartwarming. On both sides of business and personal, it was an immense impact right off the bat. I was going home happier. I was having way more time with my kids and they were seeing the difference immediately. My kids think I'm a rock star and I keep saying, no, I wish that he wishes he was a rock star. We have a relationship where we actually joke and hang out together. It's something that I never ever would have pictured having if I had gone through and just stayed the course that I was on. My goals changed, simply put. Prior to Habitat, the goals were all about my achievement. These goals are now what we can do in the community. It's all about Habitat's achievements. Kindness really didn't have a measurable for me until I started working here. And then I was like, whoa, this is indispensable. Open your eyes. Because mine were closed to everything other than my goal of achieving monetary gain. My goals are community goals, and they're no longer Rob's goals. If you can't commit time, look at other avenues that you can commit to your community, because if your community is strong, believe me, everything around you is better.